Hello, everyone. My name is Jordan Noble. My preferred pronouns are she, her. I work for Resources for Independent Central Valley, also known as RICV. And I work specifically as a youth empowerment specialist. And I've been working for RICV. Well, I started as an intern in 2019, and then I got hired on in 2020. So I've been working there for a couple years now. I am also a student right now at Fresno State, California State University. And I'm going for my master's in rehabilitation counseling. I'm really proud of that. After this semester, I've got 2 more semesters, practicum and internship. So I'll also be interning and doing practicum at RACV as well, because I'm committed to it. So I think that that's about it as far as me. And Sarah, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Oh, but Jordan, if you have your camera on, you got to describe yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. Okay, so I have short hair and it's brown. I've got some whites in it. And my ears are pierced and I've got some black earrings in, and I'm wearing my blue RICV polo. And I'm in my bedroom and I've got my brother's Great Dane laying down on my bed. Her name is Lacey, and she'll probably just lay there the entire time.
Awesome, awesome. And Lacey now works for RICV. We've decided we just don't have her on the payroll. So as Jordan said, my name is Sarah Harris. My preferred pronouns are she and her, and I'm the Director of Programs at Resources for Independent Central Valley here in Fresno, California. Description of myself, I just like to say I am blind, I am blonde, and according to my background, I'm on the beach, which is amazing, right? And we are so excited today to share with you tips and tricks that we have learned along the way with youth empowerment services. And so we're going to both turn our camera off while we're presenting. And so don't get worried. We'll be back and enjoy the presentation. Thank you. All right, Jordan, you want to get us rolling?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, it's loading right now. All right, we're here. Okay, so here's our title page. Don't just talk about it, be about it. Strategies for engaging today's youth with disabilities. And we have our agency name, Resources for Independent Central Valley, and Sarah Harris, who is the Director of Programs, and myself, Jordan Noble, who is a Youth Empowerment Specialist. Okay, the next slide, we have a logo of Resources for Independent Central Valley. It's got kind of like a stick figure man, and he's leaping with empowerment, and it's in blue and green, and he's got like 3 leaves above his head, like he's really trying hard, and there's a circle around it. Okay, next slide. How'd we get here?
So how did we get here, Jordan?
So in early March of 2020, it was a pre-pandemic world, and our goals were to become a person-centered, to have person-centered planning with our consumers by August of 2020. So we had, a couple months really to get our legs underneath us and get it going with the new normal. And then we started with hybrid services in August of 2020.
Well, those were our goals prior to the pandemic, actually, were to get our person-centered planning up and running, as well as to start providing hybrid services because of the fact that we're such a large area that we cover here in the Central Valley. We cover 5 counties. And there's a lot of folks that youth that were not able to participate in our programs because they weren't able to get to our Fresno office where mainly everything was. So that was our whole idea, was those were some of our goals. Here's what we're gonna, we wanted to do. And then the pandemic happened.
So it almost kind of threw it in and fast forward of our plans that we were gonna do. It was like, okay, well, we were gonna do it anyways, but now we just got to do it quicker. Okay, next slide is where we started. And I have a picture and it's of a young man and he's got his arms crossed and he's laying down, or he's like laying down on the desk, and it says, no matter how much bored I get in quarantine, I will never study.
Then go ahead and read our talking points there, Jordan, and then we can jump off of there.
Okay, where we started was we're talking about how, transitioning from being in person to being remote work, and also like how we ran in an office working Monday through Friday, and then what that meant to be working at home.
Yeah, and so basically, we went home on March 17th, and then we had to turn around and rethink our services completely on March 18th. And, we were fairly lucky because we had a little bit of experience with using Zoom, but it just really took us into a different area of needing to start all these things that we wanted to start later, and just much quicker. And so we went ahead and very quickly launched our person-centered planning. It was in a template version that it's funny, a couple of our consumers that have been around for a long time still are using that version, and it's a little different than what we've come up with now. So we've been able to develop things as we went through.
Definitely. And then also on this slide, talking about day one of remote work, it's a tweet that reads, I saved over $1,000 this month by switching to quarantine.
And I think we can all contest to that, that's sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay, next slide, we have a picture of Sarah here. We have two pictures, actually. The first picture, she's looking at the camera. She's got a coffee cup. It says, let's do this. And she's sitting on a yoga ball in her office. And then the photo to the right of that is Sarah with her headset in, her hair is braided, and she's typing away on the computer.
And for those of you who can't see it, the coffee mug is the size of my head.
Yeah, that is a fairly large coffee cup. Okay, this next slide is a picture of me. And I used to call that jacket my Mr. Rogers jacket, because what's going on in the neighborhood? I've got a smile on my face. My hair was a little bit longer. And I'm wearing my Resources for Independence t-shirt, and you see the phone behind me and my notebook because I'm ready to get to work.
So that is our remote work, what we do, what we look like.
Okay, the next slide is March 18th, 2020, how we rethought services. And it's a old style photo of a war room, and we conceptualized strategizing how the services would be fulfilled while using telehealth.
And it took a little bit, to really, I think, get buy-in from some of our consumers. And so what we did was we really went to them and said, hey, how can we make this the most comfortable for you, make it work for you? And we had some that were ready to jump on Zoom, and others that they still wanted to do a phone call, some that didn't want to meet at all. But what we discovered along the way is that some of our consumers really liked meeting over Zoom and opened up more even.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Okay, next slide says we are a consumer-driven slash person-centered organization. And what is person-centered? Like, what does that type of care mean? And that is really a focus on the individual's emotional needs and their care preferences and how that is best consistent with their own lifestyle. The emphasis is on relationships in the social model rather than task-centered approaches that focus on physical health of individuals, like the medical model.
So definitely what's important to, with less emphasis on what's important for.
Okay, next slide says, how do we do that? And so the first thing that we did was we used our youth empowerment services.
And so youth empowerment services is the umbrella for everything that we do with youth and young adults age 14 to up to 28. We kind of let folks stick around for a little bit. So that is, direct service. It's our youth group. It's our youth empowering youth that we'll be talking about later as well, which is where we go to schools virtually, which is very, very cool. We used to do it in person, but we've been able to move that as well. And then also just finding out, what everybody wants. What are the needs? What are the hot topics?
Okay, and the next slide says person-centered planning.
And so person-centered planning, I think, has been, definitely one of the number one great things that we've introduced just in general, but really during the pandemic, it's been very helpful because we've been able to sit down with people and get to know so much more about them to help them to not only reach goals, but create goals. Because a lot of times, people don't know even what it is that they want to do. And we've shared our template documents with all of you as well. And if you, have any questions, about, what we do even further, you can reach out and we can talk with you about it. But Jordan's going to share with you the two different sections that go into person-centered planning.
Okay, guys, the first section is the discovery section. And we go over things like a vision statement, likes and dislikes, who is on my team, what is awesome about me, what works and what doesn't work, their worries and concerns, their hopes and dreams, and their community engagement. Once we do the discovery portion, it kind of, you pull from that, like you get a sense of what their goals are and, what are things that they'd like to be working on. And then we focus on action plan issue areas. And so we have a list of different areas here, and you don't have to make an action plan for all of these different areas. They get to select what are some things that they want to work on. So we have advocacy, community engagement or social engagement, daily living skills, education, employment, financial literacy, health and wellness, health care, safety, self-care, transport, recreation, and then other, because sometimes that all those different areas, it doesn't really hit, something that a goal that they want to reach among themselves.
Right. Other could totally be underwater basket weaving. You never know. And what's so cool about each action plan, as we look into it further, you have your goal, and then you have, when's your set date, when's your target date. You have a placeholder to go back and put where, when you achieved it. And then also who's responsible along the lines, because there's different steps that it takes to reach each goal. One of the ways that Jordan and I like to say is, say somebody came to us, they're like, I want to be a basketball star. And we're like, oh, great. So you play basketball. And they're like, no. And they don't even know how to dribble a ball. So of course, the first step would be what? To dribble a ball, learn how to do that first. And so that's really what's cool, is because you take the big goal and you break it down into smaller steps and smaller goals, to where you really see a measured achievement on the way.
Okay, this next slide talks about some goals achieved by our consumers from doing a person-centered plan. And we have employment, so recreational, like they wanted to go to more sporting events. We have planning a trip, reading comprehension, decision-making, writing a book.
And these were, like Jordan said, all goals that came out of person-centered plans. And these are just a snapshot of them. And like I said, it's been so great to have this tool for us to work with our consumers during the pandemic, because we can take the time to get to know them, do the person-centered plan, and then come up with goals that we can work on either over Zoom, or they can work on individually with us in the background, being their cheerleader, or finding them resources, whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
And really, the writing a book, I just have to point out, that's one of my consumers who has actually written a trilogy, and we're currently working on editing it to send it off to be published.
That's so cool. I want to read it too.
Yes.
Okay, another big part of our youth empowerment services is Be About It, our youth group program. And this next slide talks about Be About It. It's, youth age 16 to 28. We meet weekly on Zoom for Be About It. And now we're going to talk about some of the challenges that we faced.
So I think number one was the fact that it was a meeting that was held in person monthly in the evening at our center. And all of a sudden, we weren't there anymore. So that was the number one challenge. What do we do? How do we keep our youth connected? How do we connect more?
Yeah, so like, how do we entertain youth weekly was another big thing. So I came up with different strategies, like I guess I would say I'd call them themes that we used for the youth. It was not the entire meeting this took over, but it was maybe like 15 or 20 minutes. And so I have 5 different bullets up here. So we have readers theater, show and tell, we have contests, musical moments, and we have a lesson sign up. So originally when this first started, I was trying to think of like, what's something that we could do that we can incorporate where the youth are like reading or acting something out, or, expressing a book or story that they like, and other people can ask questions about it. I was like, okay, why not do a readers theater where they sign up, so it's not like we're forcing them. They have to want to do it, and then they select an appropriate book or story or something, and then they have 15 minutes and everyone mutes themselves and gives them the floor, gives them their space to speak, and they read for 15 minutes or so. Doesn't even have to be 15 minutes. Some people only read for 6 minutes. And then everyone unmutes themselves and they clap, yay, great job, and then they ask questions. Where'd you hear about that? Where do you buy that? You know what I mean? Like, we would get lots of interesting conversations just from someone reading a book, a chapter in a book, and then people were like, it's a series, okay, where do you buy it? You know what I mean? Then they had lots of questions about it. So that just started off. I was like, okay, they're really taking to this. What are other ideas that I can do? And we did show and tell, and that was fun, where people would sign up And for 15 minutes, they would, okay, this is my dog. Or we had a young lady say, this is my my compound bow. And she like described all the different parts of a compound bow and how you load it and like how she got interested in it. And people had so many questions afterwards. And it was interesting. And then you get to know more about your consumers that you're reaching. And then, more importantly, other people are learning things about them, and they may even be learning things about themselves as well. Another thing we did was contests. So we signed up, like, for example, on Halloween, we've had contests to see who is the best dressed. We've had contests where bring a friend to the meeting, and we're gonna put all the people who brought a friend into a drawing, and when someone is gonna win a prize, you know what I mean? So it's like we've always tried to find different ways, play games or something where people can, there's just bragging rights and winning sometimes. So we just like bragging rights, you know what I mean? We know that you won. Oh, you're the hero, you know what I mean? Or whatever it is. And then another thing we did was musical moments. And what this was they would sign up and they would select an appropriate song for youth. And they would play the song, or they would tell me the song and I played the song for everyone to hear, or maybe watch a music video or something. Other people, they instead of playing music, they actually sang a song or played an instrument. It was really fun. And then I always I can gauge whether or not, once people kind of like stop signing up, I'm like, okay, it's time to come up with something new. You know what I mean? Let's bring them back. Let's get their attention again. And then after musical moments, now what we're doing is lesson sign up. And so the youth choose a topic and they sign up online. And then it's my turn. I put together kind of like a little lesson plan, a short lesson plan where we're teaching things about whatever they signed up for. We learned about polenta and what polenta is and how to make it and how to put toppings on it. We're going to learn about cybersecurity on Friday. So it's like,
and we learned about hula dancing.
we learned about hula dancing and
Yes.
also how to operate a steam engine. So it's like, what they select, it's like, I mean, it's totally random, but it's really cool. You know what I mean? Because then it, forces other people to learn about it and ask questions as well.
Definitely. And if you guys cannot tell, Be About It has definitely become Jordan's baby. She's been right here beside me since we went live on Zoom weekly. The very beginning of April was the first Friday of April. And she's really, been, I think, the whole brains behind the operation of, keeping things relevant, keeping things up to date and fun. And it's been huge. And I think it's what kept her around with RACV even after her internship ended. And we just got lucky and a spot opened up and we got to keep her. Yay.
Yeah, definitely. Going every Friday to Be About It and interacting with the youth it was so much fun. So even I was done with my hours, like I was already done with it when the pandemic started, I feel like. But I was like, hey, Sarah, is it okay if I still come to Be About It? You know what I mean? Because like, I don't know, I'm technically outside of the age range, you know what I mean, for youth. So it was like, I wanted to make sure that was still okay. And Sarah was like, absolutely. And then when the, position opened up, Sarah was like, hey, you want to apply? So I definitely think that too, my volunteering to continue on also helped me get my foot in the door as well.
And so another piece that I would point out that is a very successful strategy when building your youth program and having something be successful, incorporate interns and volunteers, because they keep you on your toes, especially this one.
That's
What
awesome.
is, what do we got next, Jordan?
Okay, next we're talking about how do we get the word out? And so we utilize MailChimp. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that, but it basically, you can set up like what the email is going to look like, and then you can send it out to people who sign up that want to be on your mailing list. We also use Facebook. That's a big thing, especially among the youth. A lot of them, they even share when we share something on Facebook, and that's how we also get other people, new consumers. And then word of mouth, that's also another big part of it. We've had people who, can I bring a friend to be about it? And we're like, absolutely, you know what I mean? So that's another good one. And then the last thing is good old fashioned outreach.
Yes. So just making sure that anytime that we're talking to anyone that we talk about be about it, because it's I think one of the easiest things for the youth to commit to without committing to anything, because they have that choice of whether they want to show up or they don't. And, we've been really fortunate because, we stick in between, I don't know, 15 to 25 each Friday. And, our youth are from all across the state, because the word has just really gotten out in a different way. So that's been really cool because we get to learn about other places too.
Okay, the next slide. Sometimes we incorporate monthly themes. So for example, we did Disability Pride Month. We also did LGBTQ plus. We we did Talk Like a Pirate, and then also COVID safety. I mean, we've done other themes as well, but we just kind of like want to incorporate whatever is going on that month that's like special. You know what I mean? We definitely want to incorporate that theme into our sessions.
All right, where are we going from here?
Okay, the next slide says, how do we manage a bunch of youth on Zoom? So
We mute them all. No, I'm just
I
kidding.
know, yeah. We've actually been asked this question a lot, like, how do you do it? Because we've had, 20 to 30 participants, and like, how do you not like lose your mind? And so the big thing is that we remind youth to be respectful. That also includes us showing them how to be respectful. And most of all, have fun, because that's a big part of making sure that you're managing them. Is if you're having fun, then they are coming back or inviting their friends, they're interacting with one another. Okay, this next slide is a Zoom picture. It's a screenshot, and we've got 9 different people on here. We've got me and Sarah and some of our other youth who signed up to be on Be About It, and they're just like super smiling and happy to be there. And this was like kind of at the beginning when we first started to go on Zoom. And obviously I've got to work on my smile while I'm taking a selfie while using a keyboard.
You look
Okay.
fantastic, Jordan.
This next photo, it's an actual photo, but we've got 2 of our consumers, and I think that they're like in a gymnasium or like a
Oh, that was a field trip to break the barriers. So that
break the
was one of the things
barriers.
that
Yeah,
we've
that's
done
right.
in the past. Yeah.
And they're just, smiling, and they're happy. One of them has his arms behind his back, and they're just, ready to learn and engage. This next photo is more of the youth, and they're sitting in a circle on the grass, and they're smiling and they look happy. And I don't know what Tyler's doing with his wrist, but he's like poking up in the air, like it almost looks like an Egyptian dance at first. And you see Sarah on the left, and she's like laying down on a blanket with the backpack, and so she's just like super chill and relaxing, and everyone's having fun in the hot sun. I think that they went to go get ice cream in this photo.
No, this one, I actually took them to the park to do yoga. Oh, it was funny. They were like, but it's hot. I'm like, it's summer, it's Fresno.
Yeah,
Live with it. And people pay for hot yoga, you know?
it's true. Yeah. Okay, this next photo is in our old office. Ooh, it's kind of blurry. It didn't load very well, but it's, Sarah and some of the youth, and it's also a police officer. And this is at our old office back in the back room where we had lots of uh, tables pushed together and really fancy chairs all around.
Pre-pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
the new BC of before COVID.
All right, this next slide is where we're going to be discussing the youth discovering opportunity and how it went virtual. And I've got an icon here on the lower left-hand side, and it's a young lady with brown hair wearing glasses, and she's got a headset on.
And Youth Discovering Opportunity is our summer program for our youth that we do each summer. And so, of course, we had to take it virtual. And we did that in 2020, and we followed up this year as well. And we kind of learned on a couple of different tips and tricks of splitting it up. And so Jordan's going to tell you how we split it up so that everybody, had a break and it wasn't too overwhelming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we definitely wanted to make sure, because it is summertime and people want to have fun or they're going on vacation. So we definitely wanted to stagger the time that we were meeting. So as you can see on this next slide, the summer program, I'm talking about session 1, and the dates this year were from June 29th to July 8th, and it was on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. From 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then we also had an additional Wednesdays from 2:30 to 4, like a fun recreational activity. I have an icon here of our summer youth program logo, and it's got a sun, and he's wearing some really dark shade sunglasses. And also our topics that we talked about in session 1 were civic duty and responsibility, advocacy, nutrition, disability pride, career exploration, intersectionality, diversity, culture, and more.
And that was session 1. And what was cool was we did 2 weeks, and then we took 2 weeks off so that our youth could either participate in the youth leadership forum or they could sleep in and play video games. And then we came back for session 2.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so session 2 was July 27th through August 5th, and that same schedule, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. and the additional Wednesday recreational activity. So some of the topics that we went over for session 2 include life skills for success, email, electronic scheduling, note-taking, time management, critical thinking, decision-making, self-knowledge, and general reading and math skills.
And I think the biggest tip that we can give you for anything like this that you're taking on is to find outside speakers. Either reach into the network of other people within SILS. You can find other folks from other organizations that locally, but just really use the people that to get on there and talk. We were even fortunate enough this year, we had our director for the Department of Rehabilitation, Joe Xavier, came and spoke with the youth about his own story and experience with the Department of Rehab and his journey in order to motivate them. So it was really cool. So definitely tap into other resources. Don't let yourself be the only one sitting there and giving all the presentations, because you will definitely get burnt out. In 2020, like that's kind of how it rolled a little bit, because it was harder to get people to present virtually. But this year, people were like, sure, yes. I don't think we got any no's. Did we, Jordan?
No, I don't think we did.
No, I really don't. And we didn't even have to, with our youth, like have any incentives as far as, like, hey, if you show up, you can win a prize. We didn't even have to do any of that. What we did, however, was we partnered with Anthem Blue Cross Medi-Cal and got a sponsorship from them. And we got $1,500 and we used that money to create some packages that we sent out to them prior to everything started that had snacks. So they had snacks ready to go. There were art projects. There were, oh gosh, some swag from Anthem. They had jump ropes and all kinds of different things in there. That really, was just kind of like a fun surprise to get in the mail.
Okay, our next slide is talking about youth empowering youth. And we have a logo on the bottom left-hand side, and it says yay, and it's youth empowering youth. And it's got 4 youth with different disabilities. You can see one is in a wheelchair, one has a prosthetic leg, one is missing his arm, and the last person is using a white cane. So it's just, showing youth with disabilities. And we launched this program in September of 2020.
We did. And Jordan, if you wouldn't mind just kind of going over the talking points there on the slide, and then I'll jump in and kind of tell the story.
Sure. So we talk about what is youth empowering youth, and it's virtual classroom presentations. It's created for youth, developed by youth, and it's facilitated by youth. So it's all youth.
It is all very, very much youth. And where this came from was, prior to the pandemic, I would go out to adult transition programs and to high schools and give presentations. And it could be about respect, it could be about Disability Awareness Month, it could be about advocacy, all these different things. Well, I started to bring youth volunteers with me, and I observed that the students were really paying attention to what the youth and young adults had to say when they were presenting. And I got this fantastic idea of like, hey, why don't I just sit back and let them do the presenting? And so that's what we started to do. And we were doing that in person. And then again, go back to the beginning and let's think about, one of our goals was to be providing some sort of hybrid services in August 2020. Even before the pandemic, we wanted to be able to do that to reach more places. And so in the beginning of March of 2020, I was part of the Youth Transition Leadership Collaborative, and I went out to Pennsylvania to Lehigh Valley Center for Independent Living, where I met some super awesome people. And we had to come up with like one of our goals as we were sitting there. And that's where I thought of youth empowering youth and creating it as a partnership with another organization here that works on transition, which is the Wayfinders program at Fresno State. And so we've been able to continue this on. I think we're serving, 6 schools currently, which is cool, which is really cool. And so we have Chloe, who is our resident youth who works for RACV, and she works together with the other youth and young adults to put together presentations that the youth in the classrooms are the ones that are actually asking for, and they bring them to the classroom. Jordan comes along to make sure they keep them on track and on task, which is awesome. And we've been able to continue that. And so it's been a huge deal to see people grow. It's a win-win.
Yeah, definitely. We have one more slide that says, who is YAY for? And, it's for students with disabilities, age 14 and up, high schools or special education classes, even mainstream classes. If they have adult transition programs, we, contact those programs and see, do they need any guest presenters, or are there any topics that they want us to touch on? And then here's the 5 different counties that we serve: Fresno, Kings, Madera, Merced, and Tulare.
All right, where are we going now?
Okay, now we're going to talk about the Self-Advocacy Conference.
All right, so the Self-Advocacy Conference is something that RACV has been partnering with other organizations to do for many years. And we held a super successful conference in October of 2019. I'm sorry, 2018. And then we took a little bit of a break. We were moving our office and we were all scheduled for April, I think it was April 1st of 2020. And of course, that was shut down due to COVID. And so Jordan and I got together with our committee to come up with how can we do this in a virtual way. And so Jordan's going to give you a little bit of an overview of what we came up with.
Yeah, so how do we take the whole conference to the virtual world? So some things we did was we sent out surveys to gauge interest and what people's timelines and topics that they wanted us to touch on. And then we think the things that we learned already from being, virtual, we applied that knowledge, and then we maximized our utilization of Zoom. So we really wanted to make sure that our training on Zoom was like up to date and that we weren't, learning as we go. Like that wasn't the time to do it. We wanted to make sure that we knew everything. And so due to the pandemic, it was difficult to get more organizations to participate in the virtual setting. But, we're hopeful to see higher participation in the future, even in the virtual settings, as more people are becoming, more accustomed to using Zoom, and also people can reach from long distances. The next slide talks about the Self-Advocacy Conference for youth and how, it was ages 14 to 26 and held virtually on Zoom. We did it over the course of April 13th through May 4th. And each week had a theme and 2 one-hour sessions. So for example, week 1 was April 13th and we did self-care is not selfish. Week 2 was healthy body equals healthy life. Work 3 was work, work, work. And week 4 was listen up, my thoughts count.
And so we just took each session and had different speakers. And what we did a lot of pre-recorded material. That way, just in case something happened, we had it good to go. And Jordan learned a lot about editing during this time. Yeah, Jordan?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and what was cool was we were able to just really maximize our I guess creativity by pre-recording a lot of stuff and playing it, and then that way too we could really perfect what we had put on video. And we just did all of our recordings over Zoom, and it worked out pretty well. And I think our next slide has the link. We do have all of our presentations. It's all available on YouTube.
And here is the link right here on YouTube, and that will take you to the channel. And maybe there's only a couple videos that you'd like to watch, but you're more than welcome to, take what we did and put your own spin on it.
Definitely.
Okay, so I'm going to turn my camera back on because we're at the last slide. And so it says, okay, now what? And basically what we're going to talk about is like some things that we're going to be doing in the future. Like, for example, we took that self-advocacy conference for youth, and now we decided we're going to kind of expand it and do our first annual self-advocacy symposium. So we're doing that. And then also The big thing that we have implemented is listening to the topics that the youth are discussing, like when we're interacting with them, either in direct sessions or what they're talking about at Be About It, or, Take Care of Yourself Tuesday, or whatever they're coming to. If we hear something that is discussed more often than not discussed, then we're like, okay, put that in like the repertoire. Maybe we'll do a workshop on that, or let's do something interesting. For example, on this Saturday, we're doing a workshop. How'd you get that job? And we're having guest speakers come, and they're just doing quick, like 6-minute presentations. And we're going to have a Q&A after, where the youth can ask them questions for, like, what made them decide to take that job, or what about it is cool, or what about it stinks? You know what I mean? Anything like that. So that's one thing. And then Sarah, I'll go ahead and I'll let you.
And I think the number one thing that, Jordan and I, and we just hired a new full-time youth empowerment specialist as well, her name is Aubrey, have to really take into consideration, along with the rest of our organization, is how are we going to provide these services in a hybrid way. Eventually we will be, back in person-ish, right? Maybe Be About It, goes back to once a month, they meet on a Friday, but how do we bring people into that same room that, aren't able to attend in person, and make sure that they're, getting the same engagement and the same, fun out of it, right? And so I think that's one of our major concerns, and one of the biggest things that we want to work on. And then, like Jordan says, we have a advocacy symposium. Yes, we use the word symposium, so we sound fancy, coming up in January. And we invite everybody here, if you'd like to join. It's going to be a free event, and we'll send out the link and share it so that you can get on as well. But we want to leave some time here for some questions. So I'm wondering, Jordan, if you wanted to take a look, and I don't know if we have any raised hands, Sierra.
Oh, well, I don't know about raised hands, but we do have some questions. The first question, Beth asked, with your weekly meetings, do you have a limit of how many can attend to keep it manageable?
We've never thought of that. So I guess the answer is no. That would be interesting, though. What if we had 100 on there? Yeah, and no, we don't, but we probably should at some point, right?
Yeah, if we get super popular. Cynthia asked if I can show the YouTube information again, and I'll type, or maybe never mind, it got answered. Okay, somebody else said, not really a question, but that's awesome that everything is run by youth.
Thank you. We love it too. It's like Jordan and I like to say, we're useful, but we're not youth.
Another person asked, what was the name of the organization that allowed you to provide swag or prizes to your participating youth? I missed that information.
Ooh, Anthem Blue Cross Medi-Cal. Of course, here in California, it's Medi-Cal because that's a Medicaid service here. But I do encourage folks to reach out to Anthem Blue Cross to look for partnerships, because they really are interested in a lot of the great stuff that we're doing.
Okay, and that's all the questions in the Q&A as of right now. But if you'd like to, raise your hand and we can unmute you, or however, type it in the chat.
And if you'd like to raise your hand, you can press *9 or the raise hand option in the menu bar as well.
And Alt-Y if you're on the PC, or oh my gosh, I always mess up the Mac one. I think it's either Command Y or Option Y. They keep changing it. And Jordan and I know that we totally shared like a whole bunch of information right now. So please totally feel free to reach out to us, and we'd love to meet with you and tell you all about what we've learned, and share more information about how we facilitate person-centered plans and those kind of things as well. And we encourage you to take, what we have, thrown out here into the universe, and take it, make it your own, make it work for your community and for your youth.
And we do have a question, Michael. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll start out with a comment. Thank you for the great programming and ideas. It's really good to see. I really like that you mentioned listening to kind of what the conversations that youth are having and basing programming off of that, or, you know, kind of making those more concrete referrals. I think we've had a lot of success doing that. Kind of audience based as opposed to like evidence based programming. And in that vein, we've had a lot of and are trying to develop programming around like role playing and D&D. And I'm wondering if that's something that you've kind of overheard, or if some of your young people are into these days. I think Zoom has actually really kind of kicked that up, and it almost is a better format for it. So I was curious to see if you have any thoughts.
It's funny that you say that, because that's something that Jordan has talked about doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I bought a like beginner's guide on how to do it, and I kind of asked the youth, like I kind of tried to see, I'm like, does anybody want to do D&D? And like only one person said yes. So I was like, okay, maybe wrong crowd, you know what I mean? But I was hoping that they would. But definitely, if you guys hear anything, please contact me, because I'd love to be a part of it.
Yeah, and this is still Mike. We'll reach out. I mean, given that we're all virtual now, it's easier to kind of pop into each other's things. So yeah, we'll reach out, and we'd love to have you maybe join us and get that conversation going too.
Yeah.
And Mike, before you are mute, can you tell us what D&D is?
Oh, thank you, Sierra. Dungeons and Dragons. So that's like kind of the most popular and well known, but it's all under like a RPG is a role-playing game. So you kind of develop your own characters based on like loose guidelines that you know, Jordan talked about getting a book. And then you go on campaigns and make decisions based on the roll of a dice. So if you're fighting somebody, you'll have to roll a dice to see how effective you are at slaying the dragon or casting the spell. So I'm kind of a novice myself, but we've had some people at our center really kind of take the lead with more experience.
And I think, Michael, you just really touched on, because one of the things is it really works on those decision-making skills, right? Making choices. So there's a reason for it, right?
Yeah, no, it's definitely one of those programs that get at other skills. But you know, is wrapped in that kind of fun and social engagement. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going to bring it back to the group. I'm going to say, are you guys sure you don't want to do D&D? I'd really like to try it. You know what I mean? Just one day, one Friday, boom, let's try it. That'd be
and I bet you that some of them just never have, and that's probably the deal. So maybe I'll sign up to learn about D&D on your Friday teach us stuff.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
there
smart.
you go. Any more questions?
I don't see any in the participant box or the Q&A. Last call.
Ding, ding, ding.
So this is Brooke again. We did have a question about the slides, and they are up on the website already. In addition, I want to say there's more than 20 other documents that Sarah and Jordan have provided to share with you guys based on what they've talked about in their presentation, templates, how to do an advocacy action plan. There's a lot of stuff there to go and check out.
And if it all kind of makes you go, just reach out. We can chat. We can set up time for sure.
Awesome. Well, with that, I thank you all. This was fantastic. And I don't even think it ends here because of all the resources that are listed there. So definitely everybody check back there. Thank you, Jordan, and thank you, Sarah, for this great program. We've already told Jordan and Sarah that they are now April, and we are going to have them back for everything because they're awesome.
Aw,
Their
thank
work
you.
is awesome. So thank you for sharing a little bit of it today. And we're excited to see all of the programs that come from this. And Jordan, please keep us updated if the youth go for the D&D.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I have your email, so I'll send it out to you, the invite. And if you guys want to join, you're more than welcome to.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, and thank you, Brooke, for moderating today. Thank you for the interpreters and Cart. And everybody, don't forget, tonight is our, depending on which page you're on, it's our sing-along, music-along session from 4 to 5 Pacific, 7 to 8 Eastern. We'll have Jim Meck and our own Mr. Billy Altum presenting, and they're not presenting anything. They're just a singing. So bring your favorite refreshment and come join us and just have a great sing along on Zoom tonight. We'll even let you unmute. So,
Fancy.
and then tomorrow, don't forget, tomorrow's the last day for the main conference, and we'll have our sessions starting at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern, and then the closing ceremony is tomorrow afternoon. So we look forward to seeing everybody there. When you close out, remember there is an evaluation. Please fill it out so we can see exactly how awesome you felt Jordan and Sarah were, and we can continue to give you more sessions like this. All right, thank you all.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Awesome. Remember, don't just be about it, talk about it. Oh, wait, don't just talk about it, be about it. Look at, I was backwards. Got too excited. Told you guys I'm blonde. Happy Thursday.
Bye.
Thank you.